Most people think selling a home is simple. Call a realtor, they come over, you sign some paperwork, they take a few photographs, maybe a video, put it on the MLS, and then wait for offers. But here's the problem: if that is the full strategy, there is a very good chance you are leaving money on that table. Selling a home properly is not just about putting a sign on the lawn. It is about preparation, pricing, presentation, marketing, negotiation, and timing. And the difference between doing this casually and doing it properly can be tens of thousands of dollars. So, in this video, I'm going to walk you through what the selling process should actually look like, especially if you're selling in Surrey, Langley, Cloverdale, or the Tri City area. Nothing that I'm sharing here is some big secret. Honestly, this is what I believe sellers should expect from a good realtor. But unfortunately, not every agent works the same way. Every agent has a different process, different experience, different systems, and different standards. So today, I'm going to walk you through the full process from choosing the right agent, preparing your home, pricing it properly, marketing it, handling showings, reviewing offers, and finally getting to completion and possession. And if you are thinking about selling in Surrey or anywhere in the Fraser Valley, this should give you a clearer idea of what you should expect. Before we get into it, if you find information like this helpful, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. I talk about real estate, market trends, practical advices for buyers and sellers in the Fraser Valley. And if you are thinking about selling, you can always reach me. I'm happy to have a conversation and help you understand what your home is worth in today's market. Now let's get into it. Number one, your relationship with your realtor. Before you share personal information with the realtor, one of the first things they should explain to you is disclosure of representation in trade. This is required disclosure in BC. It basically explains what kind of relationship you have with your realtor, what responsibilities they have to you, and what happens if you choose to work with them or if you choose not to work with them. It covers important things like confidentiality, conflict of interest, and what kind of advice the realtor can and cannot give you. And I know forms are boring. Nobody gets excited about paperwork. But this form matters because it tells you whether the person sitting in front of you is actually following the process. If an agent is asking you for your personal motivation, your financial situation, your timeline, or your bottom line price before explaining representation, now that's a red flag. A good realtor should be clear from the beginning. No confusion, no pressure, no gray areas. Because selling your home is a major decision. You should know exactly who is representing you and what their responsibilities are. The second one you need to really pay attention to is, are you hiring one person or a system? Some sellers prefer working with a single agent because they like knowing exactly who they're dealing with every time. And there is nothing wrong with that. But the challenge with real estate is that selling a home is not one job, it is many jobs encompassed into one. And in most cases, it is many jobs happening at the same time. That is pricing research, there is staging advice, there is photography, there are floor plans, there is a marketing plan, there is showing request, there is feedback, there is negotiation, there is paperwork, there are deadlines. There are follow ups with buyers agents, lawyers, mortgage brokers, inspections, and sometimes strata management companies. So for me, the goal is simple. The client should never feel the ball is being dropped. Even if I am with another client at a showing, in a negotiation, or spending time with family, the system around the listing should still be moving. That does not mean you feel passed around. You should still know who your main point of contact is. But behind that person, there should be a support structure. Because selling your home should not depend only on whether your realtor answers the phone that very second. It should depend on whether They have a reliable process. Now, let's talk about how to qualify the agent. Before you hire someone, I think there are a few important questions you should ask. And these are not meant to make conversations uncomfortable, they are meant to protect you. The first one is, what is your list to sale ratio? In simple terms, this means when you list a home, how close do you usually sell to the asking price? Now, this number does not tell the whole story because sometimes a home is priced low on purpose to generate multiple offers. Sometimes a home is overpriced and needs adjustments. But it is still a useful question because if an agent does not know their own numbers, isn't that telling you something? A strong list to sale ratio can mean two things. Either the agent is pricing accurately from the beginning, or they are doing a good job negotiating. Ideally, it should be both. Now, the second one, what is your average days on market? This means how long their listings typically take to sell. Again, this depends on the type of property and the market conditions. A detached home in South Surrey, a townhome in Willoughby, or a condo in Surrey Central are not always going to behave the same way. But the agent should be able to explain what is the normal for the type of property in your area in the current market. If the average homes in your area are selling in 25 days and your listing agent is taking 60 days, you should understand why. There may be many good reasons, but there should be an explanation. Third, how many homes do they sell per year? Volume is not everything. Some high volume agents may be excellent, but you may feel like a number in most cases. Some low volume agents may give amazing service, but they may not be as active in the market. So you need a balance. You want someone who is active enough to understand what is happening right now, but not so disconnected from the process that you never actually speak to them. Real estate changes quickly. Buyer behavior changes, interest rates change, inventory changes, negotiation strategies change. Even 1 week can make a difference. So when you're hiring someone, do not just ask, what price can you get me? Ask, what is your process and what are your results? And how will you protect me through the entire sale? Now let's talk about preparing your home for sale. Once you've chosen your realtor, the next step is preparation. This is where a lot of sellers underestimate the process. The way you live in a home and the way you present a home for sale are not the same thing. When you live in your home, it is about comfort. When you sell your home, it is about making buyers feel something. When you sell your home, it is about making buyers feel comfortable. They need to walk in and imagine themselves living there. That is where staging comes in. Now, staging does not always mean removing every piece of furniture and bringing in a full designer setup. Sometimes that makes sense, especially if the home is vacant. But often the goal is to work with what you already have. Move furniture around, declutter, remove personal items, improve lighting, touch up paint, make the room feel larger, cleaner, and more neutral. A good staging consultation should go room by room and tell you what you need to do to make the home show better. And I'll be honest, the list can feel overwhelming. You may get 40, 50, maybe 60 things to do, but you do not need to panic. You just need to prioritize. The more you do, the better your chances of creating a strong first impression. And in real estate, first impression matters a lot because buyers are not only comparing your home to their needs, they are comparing it to every other home that they have seen that week. Let's talk about photography, floor plan, presentation. Once your home is ready, the next step is presentation. And this is non negotiable. Professional photography is a must. Bad photos can kill a listing. We have all seen listings online where the photographs are dark, crooked, blurry, or taken from strange angles. That cannot be your home. Today's buyers start online. Before they book a showing, before they call their agent, before even driving by the property, they are looking at photos and videos. So your photos and videos need to stop them from scrolling. Professional photographers understand lighting, angles, room flow, and how to make a home look its best without misrepresenting it. The next is floor plans are extremely important. And off late, I have been seeing a lot of agents, especially solo agents, skipping this step in order to save money. Buyers love floor plan because they help them understand the layout. If the buyer believes in feng shui, or if it's an Indian and believes in vastu, that floor plan with directions becomes extremely important in deciding whether they want to see the property or not. They want to know where the bedrooms are. They want to know if their furniture will fit. They want to know if the kitchen connects properly to the living room. They want to know if the basement works for their family. Sometimes a buyer will spend more time studying the floor plan than the photographs. And honestly, if the floor plan does not work for them, that is okay too. It saves everyone the time. Then there is the virtual tours and videos. I look at a video a little differently. A cinematic property video can be helpful, especially for social media and high end homes. But videos by itself does not sell a home. A beautiful video will not fix a bad pricing. It will not fix poor presentation and it will not fix a weak strategy. So, yes, video can be part of marketing, but the foundation is still the same: strong presentation, professional photographs, accurate floor plans, clear listing description, correct pricing, and good exposure. That is what actually gets buyers through the door. Now, let's talk about marketing. Most of your buyers are online. Print marketing may still have a place in some situations, but the real attention is online. Once your home is listed on the MLS, it gets exposure through realtor.ca and other websites that pull listing data. But just being online is not enough. That is the minimum. The real question is, how is your home being positioned? Who is the likely buyer? Is it a young family, a first time buyer, a downsizer, an investor, a multi generational family? Someone relocating to the Fraser Valley? Because the buyer's profile changes the way we present the home. If I'm selling a townhome in Willoughby, I may highlight schools, parks, walkability, family friendly layout. But if I'm selling a condo in Surrey Central, I may focus more on the SkyTrain access, future growth, amenities, and convenience. If I'm selling a detached home in Cloverdale, I may highlight the lot size, basement suite potential, quiet street, community feel. The property description should not just list features. It should tell the buyer why those features matter. For example, 3 bedroom upstairs is a feature, but 3 bedroom upstairs so your young family can all sleep in the same level is the benefit. That is the difference. Marketing is just not about exposure, marketing is about positioning, and positioning matters. Let's talk about positioning your listing to a buyer's agent. This is something sellers do not always think about. Your home is not only being marketed to buyers, it's also being marketed to buyer's agents because, in most cases, the buyer's agent is one helping the buyer shortlist which home to see. If there are 20 homes that match the buyer's search, they are probably not seeing all 20. They may see 3, 4, 5. So, why would your home make the list? Pricing matters, photograph matters, location matters, showcasing access matters, listing notes matter. A buyer's agent's experience dealing with your listing side matters. If your home is difficult to show, poorly presented, overpriced, or missing key information, it may get skipped. That is why the back end details matter. We want the buyer's agent to look at your listing, say, this one makes sense, let's go see it. That is part of the strategy. Now let's talk about the part every seller cares about the most: price. Most sellers have an idea of what their home is worth. Sometimes it is based on tax assessment, sometimes it is based on what the neighbor is asking, sometimes it's based on what they need to buy their next home. Sometimes it is based on what they feel their home should be worth. But market value does not come from these feelings. Sorry to break it to you. Market value comes from what a real buyer is willing to pay in today's market. And that is why we use a CMA. which is a comparative market analysis. A proper CMA should look at three things. Active listings, these are your competition. If you list your home today, these are the other homes buyers will compare yours against. Active listings are useful because they show what sellers are asking, but they do not always show what buyers are willing to pay. Just because your neighbor is asking 1.4 million does not mean your home is worth 1.4 million. If their home has been sitting for 60 days and no offers, that price may not be market value. It may just be the asking price. Expired listings. These are homes that came to the market and did not sell. And this is very important. A lot of people think maybe something was wrong with that house. Maybe almost every problem can be solved with price. But busy road, price can be adjusted for that. Old roof, price can be adjusted for that. Bad layout, price can be adjusted for that. Needs renovation, price can be adjusted for that. Expired listings usually tell where the market rejected the price. So we need to study them. And then comes the sold listing. This is the most important category. Sold listings show where buyers and sellers actually agreed. That is market value, not asking price, not tax assessments, not emotions, not what happened, not what someone hoped to get. Sold data tells us what buyers actually paid. And then we adjust for conditions, location, size, layout, updates, lot size, basement suite, strata fees, and current market directions. This is how you price properly. Do not hire the agent who just gives you the highest price. Do not hire an agent who just gives you the highest price on their CMA. This is one of the biggest mistakes sellers make. They interview three agents and they hire the one who tells them the highest number. I understand why. It feels good. If one agent says your home is worth 1.3 million, the other says it's 1.4 million, and of course, 1.4 sounds better. But you need to ask, is that number realistic or is that number to win your listing? Because there are agents who will tell sellers what they want to hear, get the listing, and then 2 to 3 months down the lane, start pushing for price reductions. This is not a pricing strategy, this is a listing strategy. As a seller, you set the asking price. The realtor's job is to guide you with honest data. And sometimes the honest number is not the number you were hoping to get. But I would rather have an uncomfortable conversation in the beginning than set you up for a disappointment later. Because time is money, and in the time that you would be wrongly priced and the market has moved further down, which is the current market, you would be losing tens of thousands of dollars on the table by waiting for a couple of months to price right. Overpricing can hurt. It can cause the listing to sit. It can make buyers wonder what is wrong. It can help your competition sell first. And eventually, you may sell for less than you could have if you priced properly from day one. So, pricing is not about being high or low, it's about being strategic. Now, let's talk about what happens after you sign the listing agreement. Once the papers are signed, the work begins. This is where the listing schedule matters. You should know what is happening and when. When is the staging consultation? When are photographs being done? When is the floor plan happening? When are we going live on MLS? When is the open house? When will showing requests start? How will feedback be communicated? A seller should not feel lost. A proper listing process should be organized. Once the home is live, showings begin. And in the Fraser Valley, most showings are private showings with buyer's agents bringing their clients through. Usually, the listing agent is not present because the buyer needs space to speak honestly. They need to walk through the home, discuss what they like, what they do not like, and whether it works for them. Now, showings can be frustrating. Sometimes buyers are late, sometimes they cancel, sometimes they come for 5 minutes and leave, sometimes they spend 30 minutes and say nothing. That is part of the process. But your home needs to be ready every time. Lights on, blinds open, counters clean, beds made, no strong smells, pet handled if possible. The home should feel bright and easy to walk through. So, yes, one of the most common complaints from buyers is that the home feels too dark. So, yes, even if the hydro bill goes up a little that week, turn the lights on. It matters. Now, let's talk about feedback and weekly updates. After showing feedback matters, not every agent gives good feedback and not every buyer is honest, but we still follow up. We want to know, what did the buyer think? Are they considering an offer? If not, why? Was it price, layout, location, condition, size, competition? So, some feedback we cannot fix. If a buyer says that the road is too busy, we cannot move the house. But we can adjust expectations of pricing if needed. If the buyer says the home feels too dark, maybe we improve lighting. If they say the room feels too cluttered, maybe we adjust staging. If they say the pricing feels high compared to another listing, we need to pay attention. Feedback helps us understand how the market is responding. And as a seller, you should be updated regularly. You should know how many showings happened, what the feedback was, what the online activity looks like, and whether the strategy needs to change. Selling a home is not list it and forget it. It needs monitoring. Now let's talk about timing. Technically, can a home be listed tomorrow? Yes. But should it be? Usually no. If we rush to the market without staging, photographs, floor plans, proper description, and marketing readiness, we are hurting the listing. First impression online is extremely important. The first few days are when the listing is fresh. That is when serious buyers notice it. So you do not want to waste that window. At minimum, I would like at least 7 days to prepare, but realistically, anywhere between 10 to 21 days is best. Sometimes we may start working with sellers 4 to 6 weeks before going live, especially if they need to declutter, paint, repair, move furnitures, or prepare the home properly. The ideal process looks something like this. First, staging consultation, then repairs and preparation, then cleaning, then floor plan and measurements, followed by photographs and media, then listing review, then MLS launch. I usually like to bring a listing to market on a Tuesday. Why? Because it gives buyers time to see the listing before the weekend. Then you have your first open house that weekend while the listing is still fresh. Open house can be useful, especially in the first weeks. They create access, they make it easier for active buyers to come through. And sometimes they create urgency when buyers see other people looking at the same home. Now, not every open house will sell the home. And yes, some neighbors will come through just to look. And that's normal. But open houses are still part of the exposure strategy, especially if the property is priced well and presented well. The goal is to make it easy for serious buyers to see the home and feel that other people are interested too. That energy matters. Now let's talk about offer strategy. Depending on the market, we need to decide how to handle offers. In a very hot market, you may choose to hold offers on a certain date. For example, listed on Tuesday, show open house on the weekend, and offers reviewed on a Monday or the following Tuesday. This can work well if there is a strong demand and a real chance of multiple offers. But if the market is balanced or slow, holding offers can backfire because sometimes the best buyer is the first buyer. And if you tell the buyer to wait for 5 days, they may go buy something else instead. So, offer strategy depends on the market. It depends on your property. It depends on your property type, price point, location, inventory, buyer activity. There is no one size fits all answer. Sometimes we review offers as they come. Sometimes we will set an offer date. The key is to choose the strategy based on the evidence, not an ego. Once we receive an offer, the next step is negotiation. Price is important, but it is not the only thing. You also need to look at deposit amount, subject condition, completion dates, possession dates, included items, financing, inspection, buyer strength. terms and timelines. A higher offer is not always the best offer if the terms are weak. Once you accept an offer, it may still have subjects. Common subjects include financing, inspection, document review, title review, insurance, or sale of the buyer's property. During that subject removal period, the property is not fully sold yet. The buyer still has work to do. That is why, in many cases, we may continue allowing showings or at least keep backup interest warm until the subjects are removed. Once the buyer removes subjects and pays the deposit, then you have a firm sale. But in BC, sellers also need to understand that the home buyer recession period. For most residential real estate transactions, buyers have 3 business days after an offer is accepted to rescind the contract, even if the offer is subject free. And if they rescind, they typically owe the seller a rescission fee of 0.25% of the purchase price. This is why it is important to understand not just the offer price, but the full legal and practical timelines. After the sale is firm, we move towards completion and possession. Completion is the day money changes hand, and possession is the day the buyer gets the keys. Sometimes they are the same day, but often in BC, they are a few days apart. For example, completion might be on a Thursday and possession might be on a Saturday. That gives time for legal and banking processes to settle. As a seller, you need to keep your home insurance active until possession, not just completion. That is important. A quick completion may be around 30 days after firm sale. A more typical completion may be 60 to 90 days depending on what both parties have agreed. Long completions can work, but they also create risks because buyer financing can change if the timelines are too long. So, again, dates matter. The offer is not just about price, the date and terms can make a big difference. So, let me bring this all together. Selling your home properly is not one step, it is the full process. You need the right relationship with your realtor. You need clear disclosures and trust. You need to understand who is actually handling your file. You need to qualify the agent based on results and process. You need staging, preparation, you need professional photographs and floor plans. You need proper online marketing. You need smart pricing based on data. You need showing management and feedback loop. You need the right offer strategy and you need someone who can guide you from the listing all the way to possession. Because the goal is not just to sell, the goal is to sell well. With the least amount of stress, the strongest possible outcome, and the strategy that actually makes sense for the market we are in. So if you're looking at selling in the Fraser Valley, Langley, Cloverdale, South Surrey, the Tri-Cities, or anywhere in the greater Vancouver area, and you want to understand what your home is worth and what the right strategy could look like, feel free to reach out. There's a link in my description below. I'm happy to have a conversation and see how I can help you. If you've made it this far into the video, please hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you're updated on every single video that I put out. My name is Roshan Victor. I'll see you in the next video.